Hello, friends. It's me, F. Gardner. So, something occurred to me recently. I played through the latest Pokemon and Sonic games. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and Sonic Frontiers. And I noticed something really weird in these two games. There's like flat Earth stuff in them. And I'm pretty sure that both Nintendo and Sega Sonic team, like, they must know that the Earth is flat. Like, can't just be a coincidence. So I'll explain. This probably sounds bizarre, but it makes sense when you think about it. I first started getting suspicious of this when I played, even before this, when I played the last Zelda game, Breath of the Wild, and I noticed there's this giant mountain, I forget what they called it, but it's like this big mountain or volcano kind of thing in that you had to travel to. And the new Sonic game has stuff like that. It's more than one, it's a little more subtle, but it's like similar. Like you can always see these things in the distance, and you need to climb it and get to it. And the new Pokemon, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, it's not even subtle at all. It's like in the center of the entire game, and what do they call it? They call it like Area Zero or something like really mysterious sounding. And it's like there too, and you get to it. It's like this hidden land that's like kept secret. And if in case you're wondering, well, what does this have to do with flat Earth? Well, okay, there's what's called like the world map, like for flat Earth, and there's the moon map. Excuse me, the moon map, where it's like you look up at the moon, you take a picture of the moon, and you flip it upside down, and you can see it's actually a map of the world. It's just like mirrored, and you compare it to all these old flat Earth maps from like hundreds of years ago. And that's what it looks like. There's secret continents and stuff. And so that, to me, it's like the most extreme example is in the new Pokemon game. Like, I think at first they were like hinting at this, like little clues in like Breath of the Wild, and then Sonic team did the same with the new Sonic game. Like, why are all three of these games are doing that? They can't just be a coincidence. And in the new Pokemon game, you get there, whatever it's called, like Area Zero or whatever, this hidden, and it's like the size of like a whole area, like how in Pokemon there's the various cities and stuff. So it's like a huge part. So like, it's like, it makes me think of the flat Earth maps and stuff, and the moon map, how it's like there are these secret continents. Because I was thinking about more, and that's not even the first time Pokemon's done this. So like Mew, for example, a lot of people think Mew, the Pokemon Mew, it's just like, because like in Japanese, like a cat says like Mew, and it looks kind of like a feline, kind of a cat creature, but it's not as simple as that. You see, one of the secret continents, so everybody knows like Atlantis. So there's Atlantis, that's real, Terra Vista. It's another one. There's also Lemuria. Another name for Lemuria is Mew. And the Pokedex data for Mew, like the original game, it says something like Mew is thought to be miraged by many experts, and they claim it doesn't really exist. Well, that's what Mew, Lemuria, the definition of that is. It's thought to be a myth or a mirage, they'll often say. I think it might be what the Pokedex data info said in the original Pokemon Red and Blue and stuff. So Nintendo was already well aware of like this stuff back then, or at least maybe they were like suspicious, thinking like, maybe this flat Earth stuff checks out. Let's put some like little hints in our games to tell people to look into it. There's speculation on my part there, if that's what was their intent back then. But I think playing the new game and Sonic and Zelda, the new ones, there's no way this is a coincidence at this point. They keep putting this stuff, the secret continent stuff, which is heavily connected with Flat Earth. They keep putting this in all at least these 3 games. I'm sure there's more. So, and I'm not suggesting this just so I don't upset anybody. F. Gardner is not suggesting that like Nintendo and Sonic Team are part of like the Globe Earth conspiracy and like trying to hide the Flat Earth. I don't think so. I think they're both great, like the best gaming companies. Like the Japanese make all the best video games. So F. Gardner's a huge fan of Nintendo and Sega, Pokemon, and Sonic Team. So I don't think they're doing anything like sinister or sneaky. I think it's like they probably know by now because they're such big companies. And I know a lot of people will say, well, maybe all the big companies are in on it, are in on trying to deceive the earth, like the people of the earth. You know, it's funny. I don't even like saying, even though I'm a flat earther, I kind of feel funny just saying like the term Earth anymore because it's like this isn't even really Earth, like in the sense people think of it like as a planet or whatever. Like this is just, I don't know, like a realm more than anything. Somebody I know said to me like it's because I was saying I'm like Buddhist and stuff, and how I don't believe this is even real. Like it's like a dream. Or the truth is probably even stranger than that. And he was saying, oh, so it's like the ending of Mario 2, the ending of Super Mario Brothers 2. And I thought about it and I said, yeah, that's pretty accurate, honestly. So that's a Nintendo game too. That goes on. That tells me like maybe this is probably how part of why Nintendo and Sega also like think about it. All the great games they've made, like it's like some kind of, I don't know, blessing or like, oh yeah, I think Nintendo like in Japanese didn't it originally mean like blessed by the heavens or something? Well, maybe they quite literally are, honestly. Like it's like to make all these great games, they need to be blessed or like they need to know like some of the deep secrets and stuff like that not a lot of people know about, like how the Earth is flat and there are these other secret continents that not everybody knows about. Like most people know about Atlantis and they just think of like, I don't know, like an old Disney movie, Atlantis, wasn't that one? Yeah, that's from like 20 years ago or something. But that's what it's based on. It was based on like facts. And it sounds silly to a lot of people, but that's where they get these things from. For a lot of these movies and like video games like Pokemon and Sonic, because like a lot of this stuff is real, like the secret continents and stuff, and they're clearly hinting at it. And I'm like it's like really blowing my mind. This in particular, the stuff I'm saying about the new Pokemon game and Sonic and Breath of the Wild, Zelda, like I'm like the only one that's like noticed this from what I'm not saying that like because I'm like a genius, but like what I mean is like I haven't heard anyone else say that. So I don't mean that in like a bragging way. Like it's not just like I'm bragging like, oh, I figured this out, no one else did. Well, no, Nintendo and Sega figured it out. Clearly, they're putting this in all the games, and it's gonna sound crazy or silly to most people, but that's because Flat Earth already sounds crazy or silly to, well, 90-something% of people. But that number's it's going down. More people are becoming flat earthers because the internet exists and people like F. Gardner here are talking about it or whatever. Anyway, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Look into this if you haven't, not just like flat earth in general, but like, yeah, the new Pokemon, Zelda, Sonic. So like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, this new Pokemon, Sonic Frontiers, and Zelda Breath of the Wild. They're all like doing this open world world game. And maybe that's part of it, because like if it's an open world, it's like maybe you're gonna find secret continents in the first place or whatever. I guess that kind of lends itself well to gaming, to like that type of genre. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know. The new Sonic game was really good, by the way. I was really surprised by that. When I heard they were going to do like an open world Sonic game, F. Gardner was like, "Oh, well, I don't know what I think about this. Like, how is Sonic, of all games, going to work as open world? I could understand Pokemon, or Zelda, but Sonic, I wasn't convinced until I played it, and I thought, whoa, this is fucking rad. This is awesome. It's way past cool. Like, it was way better than I expected it to be. Like, it's like, I guess it's like the closest game since, the closest thing we have. So like, you know how there's Sonic Adventure 1 and 2? Like, this is like the closest, I guess, now to Sonic Adventure 3, if you can call it that. It feels a lot like that. Anyway, yeah, there's flat Earth stuff in these games. The secret continent stuff, like that's heavily connected to flat Earth. And not a lot of people know that. People that don't know much about flat Earth. Most people, because most people, they have an incorrect idea about what flat Earth is. They think like, oh, where's the edge, or why aren't boats just falling off? Well, there is no edge. There's a big dome. So it wouldn't. The question doesn't make sense. There's nothing to fall off of, and there's no outer space. Outer space doesn't exist. Outer space can still be cool for fiction. So like, like Zelda, Pokemon, Sonic, those are all cool. They're in fictional settings, I'm aware. Even though the flat Earth stuff they're hinting at is like true. But like, take Halo or Star Wars or whatever. Those are cool. I love Halo. I used to play the original game especially all the time. So it can still make for a cool like fantasy, sci-fi, whatever setting, but it's not real. You can still enjoy it, is my point. But yeah, they keep putting more of this stuff in the games though, at least in these three, but there's got to be more. Because when F. Gardner plays video games, I mostly play like stuff that I grew up with. So I grew up with Pokemon, Sonic, and Zelda. So like I'll play the new ones of that and stuff, or whatever. But yeah, some people, they won't know that like the secret continent stuff. This is like part of flat Earth, and it's like, I guess, kind of like the next level of flat Earth is like once you realize it's flat, then you realize, oh shit, there's secret continents they're hiding from us too. I was on the fence about that for years, actually. I've been a flat earther for years now. And it took me years of being a flat earther until I finally became convinced of that, oh wow, there really are secret continents they're hiding. Because if you look up all you need to do is take a picture of the moon and then flip it upside down and then compare it to these old flat earth maps. I've shown this to people and it always blows their minds. But if you want to see, this is funny. That's actually a really polarizing topic amongst flat earthers, which is strange because I think like flat earthers need to be more like united, and there shouldn't be like this infighting and arguing about, well, what's the right map? We can't know we can't know for sure unless we like get past Antarctica and travel freely, which the Illuminati or whatever won't let us do. So anyway, there needs to be more like unity. There needs to be, flat earthers need to be more united and not fight about the different maps, like, because it's hard to know what the right map is. Well, we have a really good general idea. It's these old flat earth maps from like 300 or whatever years ago that show these secret continents. Because if you look at the moon, you can see it. The moon is a reflection of what's on the earth. It's just upside down. So it's like when you look in a mirror, right? It's a mirrored image. It's flipped. So it's like that, a reflection. You look at the moon, take a picture, flip it upside down. That's a map of the Earth, and that's how the ancients calculated. I always hear people say, "Well, how did the ancients calculate the Earth? Like, how did they know? How did they chart? How did they map the old the Earth maps?" Well, it seems so obvious. All they did was look up at the moon, and they drew it. Yeah, it's that simple. That's all they did. Anyway, yeah. So check out those games. It's really gonna blow your mind. It sure as hell blew my mind. And yeah, F. Gardner was not expecting to. When I popped in the latest Pokemon game, I was not expecting there to be flat Earth stuff all over the place. It's like pretty extreme, and they talk about when you get there, it's playing. It's even playing like the spooky kind of eerie, mysterious music when you're going to this secret area, and then they talk about like how they're these ancient Pokemon. They phrase it kind of in a strange way. They're like futuristic, and they say they're from like thousands of years ago, but in the future. They phrase it in a really odd way, but well, it makes it sound cool, I guess. But that and yeah, also the center of the Earth thing. I almost forgot this. This is important. So yeah, the big crater or whatever that has the Area Zero in Pokemon. It's like how in Breath of the Wild they had the big tree you're traveling to at this center or whatever, and then in Sonic you see these. There's more than one in the Sonic game, but it's always in the distance. You need to find these and climb them. So they're putting this in all three of these games. The most extreme being in the new Pokemon. But it started in Breath of the Wild, from my knowledge. Maybe there's older games that did it too. But so in all the old world religions and cultures, they talk about there being this big tree, this big ass tree, or mountain sometimes, in the center of the Earth. And I think that's part of what they're hiding past Antarctica. Like they don't want us to get to the secret continents and find the dome. But there's also this giant tree. So F. Gardner's a Buddhist, so in Buddhism they call it Mount Meru, this giant tree at the center of the Earth. It's also in Vedic, Hindu cosmology, Mount Meru, and it's in all over the place. If you're a Christian, there's the Tree of Life, that Garden of Eden. The Vikings had the World Tree and everything. So all of these ancient cultures they decided that there's this big tree in the center of the Earth, sometimes depicted as a mountain. There's also the conspiracy that mountains are trees, giant tree stumps, which it makes sense if you look into that. But maybe I'll do a different video about that. But anyway, so all these different cultures, they all decided that there's this giant tree or mountain, the center of the Earth, past Antarctica, or in the middle of Antarctica, and secret continents, and that the Earth is flat, and that we're contained in a big dome. So you have different cultures, different parts of the Earth, thousands of years apart. So it's generations apart, different parts of the Earth, all coming to those conclusions that I just said, that it's flat, there's a giant dome, a big tree in the middle of it. How could the ancient Chinese say that, and then the ancient Mayans, Egyptians, it's in India, the Vikings said this too. So that tells you, well, that's true. They would have had no interaction with one another, thousands of years, more than just generations, thousands of years apart, total opposite parts of the Earth. They all said these very specific things. Well, why do you think that is? That's because it's true, and I think it's Nintendo and Sega know this, and again, I don't believe that Nintendo and Sega are doing anything sinister. So shout out to Nintendo and Sega, Sonic team. F. Gardner loves you, you're great. I think that, yeah, they know. So yeah, F. Gardner, yeah, he knows too. I'm aware that it's flat and that there are these secret continents and everything. So yeah, I think that this is, in a way, it's like, I guess Nintendo and Sega Sonic Team, like they're giving us a shout out. Like, hey, yo, look into this. It checks out. It's legit. The Earth is flat, and that there's these secret continents. Because, like I said, you can trace it all the way back to like Mew when they talk about Lemuria, because it's also known as Mew. Anyway, yeah, that's been on my mind for a while, ever since I played these games, and yeah, I thought now would be a good time to do a video about it. Well, I hope everybody liked the video. Catch everybody later. Bye.